Launch control, we have Tycoon clearance for shuttle launch.
Welcome in, guys. I'm Slay, and today we're taking a first look at IXION, a indie developer game that I can best sum up as Frostpunk in space, which you've probably heard before if you've seen anything about this game. Now, I've always been a huge fan of Frostpunk because it gives you such tough decisions and makes the gameplay super challenging while having a little bit of an RTS and resource management viewpoint. Instead of the cold hills of Frostpunk, we're now in space. I feel like that makes it even a little bit more dire. Like the risks are just higher, even though, you know, you could freeze to death in Frostpunk, but here, so many things can happen. So if you are new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like for the video, and leave a comment down below if you're interested in picking up this game. You can also check us out live at twitch.tv/slay3k. Now let's take a look at our launch into space, and we'll get back to talking about the game.
Transferring data to inner heaven.
So when I first started the game, you immediately dive into this really beautiful cinematic. It's slightly stylized. It's got really cool audio features, just with the mix and stuff like that. The music, it's all like building up. It's so good. I was captivated by this. There's nothing better than a really good introduction or cinematic video for a game. You know, you're immediately kind of thrown into this world, this perspective for the game. And then when it's supplemented with audio, like in music and sound effects and all that jazz, I'm pulled in. So from what I've gathered, there's a company named Dolos who operates this space station called the Tycoon. And you are the administrator coming on to manage operations within the space station. So immediately you're thrown into the cinematic, you come out of it, and we meet our little world, the area that we'll be operating within. At first glance, I thought, well, this is a very small area to operate, but what I realized is it seems to be a circle, so I imagine beyond the demo, you'll be able to really expand this into a loop that goes around the interior of the space station. Now, immediately you recognize all these crates and boxes, so there's automatically resources available for you to utilize. Later in the game, you'll pick up that a lot of these resources are going to be expanded upon later using trading. Now, the buildings available currently weren't that overwhelming. We had stuff to manage supplies, a building for construction, and you have stuff for the inhabitants like housing and food and medical. What's also cool is we get separate views. We can see the exterior of the station itself. We can also go to a sort of solar system view. This will play a big part when we have ships later that can go and visit different places within the solar system. As you might expect, there is a pathing system that allows residents or your robots to sort of access everything that they need, including the supplies that are on the floor for you. I'd imagine that space on the Tycoon is going to be really at a premium, so you're going to have to probably be pretty careful about how you lay things out. One thing that threw me off for a minute was that you need to select what resources you want to start picking up and putting into your storage system. Once that happens, then you can build a little bit more freely because items are stored, pulled from there as the construction unit and everything begin to work on your buildings. Along the way, there's handy little conversations you'll have with various members of the organization you're associated with, and from there, they'll give you prompts to complete certain tasks. I do get the impression that the organization may not be so perfect. I don't want to give too much away because I want you guys to feel it too, but I just get this weird vibe from the conversations you have in game. They sort of dial you up and they want to talk about things, but they're also alluding to other stuff while they're talking. I sense that there's like some rich storyline here, maybe even some nefarious things happening. Overall, the first initial task is not only to build housing for residents of the space station, but also to start preparing resources and stuff like that for basic needs. And then you're working towards a goal of building some sort of engine. Later, you find out this engine allows for like going outside of the solar system or further distances, right? But what's interesting is that not only are you building within the interior here, you're also building some things on the exterior. For example, you need solar panels to provide more power to supply power to your interior items, your buildings. So everything you put down is reliant on power and the resources you see at the top bar on the screen. Now, what's also cool is you have a cargo bay, which you can build your ships. So you can actually have a fleet of ships that can leave your current location and go to planets to do science exploration, cargo transfers, and mining, which again, contribute to what you have at the top of the screen with all the different resources. With the demo, we only had to worry about 3 of them, which we did some basic trades to continue to provide food and a couple other resources. Additionally, by sending out a science ship, you can complete certain tasks, which will reward some things to you to better your situation. Much like you'd expect with a game like this, you are going to have to manage expectations and morale on the ship. I feel like with the demo, we're only scratching the surface of how many things you're gonna have to manage outside of just resources, specifically with that morale. It does seem like you can do things like overwork the inhabitants. If you don't provide enough food, that's going to be another issue. There's a lot of things I think that could affect your ability to play this game very easily, making it a more challenging campaign. Again, I'm drawing connections to Frostpunk because this is a very similar setup, but it's done in its own way. The complexity with all the different resources I think will add to the value of this. I'm excited to see if we leave the solar system, we go to different places, how that might affect resource gathering and trading with other outposts. There's also something here that we're not really diving into, and that's hull integrity. I can only imagine this option could refer to an instance of hitting something in space. I do wonder if there's an opportunity to have like some sort of adversary. That would be kind of interesting, but I don't know if that fits exactly what we're doing. I can see a ton of opportunity with this game for expandability, like more external attachments, more solar panel type things that you can attach to the exterior, as well as finding different solar systems or areas to travel to. I think DLC is just going to be huge for this. I think it's a big opportunity for the dev of this game is that now you can expand beyond just one solar system. You can go so far with this, whereas some games, maybe Frostpunk in particular, you're kind of a little bit more limited on what you can expand to within the story. This is limitless. Plus, you have a whole research tree that we haven't really touched on yet, but it exists. There's a building kind of like you'd expect, which unlocks a ton of opportunities for different types of research. Overall, the gameplay was pretty smooth too. I didn't really have any issues or anything like that in terms of like lag or any frame rate drop. I was very much pleased with the performance though. Once the engine's complete, we can begin to travel. This again opens the opportunity to go to different solar systems and different places. It seems like the gist of it is that we need to get off Earth and we need to start exploring further and further away from Earth. Now, when you go into exploration mode or when you're moving with the engine, it does seem to set the interior of your station into like a dark mode. Like everything is focused, all your energy is focused on the engine, so things kind of slow down in the interior, which I could see as being an issue, like maybe long term, like maybe that starts to cause a little bit of an issue with your inhabitants getting frustrated or something like that, especially if you don't set up your situation to run well with resources and all that jazz before you begin your travels. Now, our short travel from Earth towards the moon wasn't that long, so we didn't have any issues. I can only see that maybe there's some opportunity to add those sort of things or have those sort of things play out on longer travels. Overall, I super enjoyed this game. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know any information. I didn't read anything on it before I started. After I downloaded it, seeing a couple screenshots, I was very, very curious. And as soon as I started to connect the dots with how it operated, I was hooked. I don't play many heavy resource management games. They just don't always appeal to me, or I just feel like they sort of go on for a really, really long time before you get to an eventual goal, if they even have a goal. This to me offers an opportunity to really like build on what you started, right? There's a bunch of different resources. I'm sure there's gonna be a bunch of cool tech that you can add later, and then traveling to different solar systems or different places could offer a ton of opportunity in terms of what kind of situations you're gonna face. I can see this as being a great game for folks that enjoy a little bit of resource management, a little bit of city building, especially with some sci-fi added to it. I think this is on a really good track to be a really fun game to play. I do think the devs just gave us a great taste of what this game could be, and I'm excited to see what else they add, and hopefully there's more cinematics like this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out another first look at a different game, and I'll catch you guys next time.